Why did BlackBerry go from 50% market share to 3% market share in 5 years? How did Amazon transform themselves from selling cheap socks and books to designer clothing and handbags? How did Microsoft turn the Xbox division around from a $1 billion write-off, hardware failures, and only appealing to a very narrow segment of white teenage boys in North America who like to shoot and race things, only people that used to buy Xbox, to transitioning Xbox into the center of the living room, being the entertainment hub, where now the most prominent use of it is music and movies? How did those companies pivot one way or the other? What's the commonality? Anyone? Change? Leadership? Innovation? Pardon?
Understanding behavior.
Understanding behavior. Disruption. I don't know how many of you bet or bet with horse racing, but a trifecta is a three-way bet. A trifecta is a random shot in the dark where the odds are stacked against you, kind of a bit like how people think about innovation or turnaround or fast growth. You know, it's a bit of luck, Val, is what some people say to me. Yeah, well, we're going to try and achieve this new market growth, but we're not really sure if we're going to get there. What I have found in my work with executives when we have had extreme success and, frankly, absolute downright disasters is the number one commonality that will determine whether a business succeeds or fails is the innovation trifecta. And the innovation trifecta is when you can create a symbiotic relationship between creative, technical, and business minds. And what many times happens in organizations, and if you think about the change projects that you are driving right now as business leaders, executives, and experts, think about the dynamic that is happening between creative, technical, and business minds. Because what it often feels like is that you have landed in Japan and you are trying to speak French and everyone is looking confused, and so you talk louder and slower in French and get even more confused. And so part of what I'm going to spend the next 55 minutes talking to you about is how do you accelerate change to improve the probability of success? How do you rapidly innovate and grow within your businesses? Through the lens of creative, technical, and business minds. This is going to be a very interactive, two-way talk. So you are free to ask me questions, raise your hand, tell me I'm crazy, that you disagree with me, that you have a point that proves the opposite. I love those kind of conversations. There is no question and answer session because the whole session is going to be backwards and forwards. So as you have questions, let me know, and we will start the conversation. Many people ask me about, your book, Thoughtfully Ruthless. I don't like that. I don't want to be ruthless. I don't like the idea of being ruthless. The idea of being ruthless often makes people physically wince. And when people tell me that, I'm like, yeah, I know. Because what many people confuse leadership with is they think they either need to be a thoughtful leader, where you are well liked and everybody follows you and everyone wants to work with you, or you need to be ruthless, Game of Thrones, charging ahead with a big sledgehammer, forcing people to drive the changes in the organization, forcing people to follow you, and it's my way or no way. And both those extremes are wrong. And what I found as I observed many successful, mediocre, and downright terrible leaders over the last 25 years is that for leaders to stand out, they need to be ruthless in a thoughtful way with three aspects, which is their time, their energy, and their resources. And my good British friend from England, Chris, just talked about time. So time is one important factor, but there's a big reason many change management initiatives fail, because you can focus on the time management, but unless you're managing energy, unless you're managing resources, you are not going to succeed. So we're going to unpack some of the elements of what it means to be a thoughtfully ruthless leader. And I'm going to share some examples. I'm going to get you to work. And you can ask me questions as we go through. I understand, given the companies you're working with, you may want to ask for a friend or give me a case study of an example of what you're working with. That is fine. Or I'm around for the whole of the day, so you can ask me questions as we go through. So the first thing I want to share with you are 3 numbers. 1, 3, 5. And I want you to write those down. 1, 3, 5. Or you can make a note on your phone if you don't have a pen. And what I want you to do is take a few moments in quiet reflection to answer these questions. What is one sentence that describes your unique value? What are 3 distinct traits? And what are 5 of your proudest accomplishments? 1 sentence to describe your unique value, 3 distinct traits, and 5 of your proudest accomplishments. Go.
I hope. And then my 5 top ones here. I recently led about 15 of us, so that was a life accomplishment. Felt great to be able to do that with other people. To deliver a pizza to the place where I needed to go, and I got in the car with them, so I didn't have a ride. There was no such thing as Uber. And so
Okay, I'm going to ask you all to stop. Who wants to catch this? I need silence before I'm throwing it. Who wants to catch my cue ball? I need silence before I'm throwing my cue ball. If you catch it, you have to ask me a question. So my question to you is, how was that experience? Who wants to answer?
It was enlightening.
Talking to the ball. It's a microphone.
I didn't know that. I thought it was enlightening. I didn't realize that, when I was trying to think of me, because I'm so focused on others all the time, what things I was proud of, what I was bringing value.
Great, thank you. Tell me something else about an insight you got from doing this.
I think the activity itself was one that I think I can use with other teams.
Yeah.
And to build teams as I start a new initiative, and we were looking for a cool exercise, and I think this is a great way to get to know somebody and learn the value that they bring, and so thrilled to meet a new person and know them a little bit better.
Great, thanks.
So, I can't throw them.
Okay, who else wants to share an insight? How that exercise was for you? And it involves catching this ball. I'm a little scared of all this glass, so I'm going to do this. You ready?
I just thought it was interesting between the two of us. I focused. Oh, it's a mic. Wow. I guess I missed that part of that. Yeah. It was the way that we looked at it, right? So, I focused on all professional. Like, I looked at value from a professional value and characteristics that align to sort of professional lens and accomplishments from that perspective. And Mark balanced it between personal and professional, so I thought it was interesting of that, you come at the same request and people look at it differently, like when you don't provide any very, real specific instructions of keep it professional or mix it or whatever, that people come at it differently. I also think that, getting people talking about themselves and what they did well and what they're known for is also a good way to start a conversation, because people are smiling when they talk about what they accomplished, and it's a really positive way to start a discussion.
Excellent, thank you.
There you go.
Who else would like to share something? Who found this particularly hard and didn't enjoy it? Can you share why?
As a consultant that's been in business for a long time, I still find it hard to talk about myself, and I've just been working on a website, so I have a little bit of a benefit because I've been thinking about these things a little bit. But when someone asked me why people hire me, I still didn't have the answer.
Okay.
So it just reminded me that it takes some thinking to even put yourself out there from another's point of view, and this was a really helpful exercise to do that.
Great. Thank you. What's your name?
Thank you, Julie Welch.
Julie.
Yes.
Julie, I appreciate your candidness because you are not alone. There are executives, or when I work with solo entrepreneurs like some of you, or when I work with boutique consulting owners, it's real. And unpacking what your unique value is and why people do write you checks over and over again is something that's really crucial. And so, may I ask you a few questions because I might be able to help you?
Oh, sure.
Tell me.
In front of everybody. Yes, I want to ask you where you got this ball. If you will share that information, I'll put myself out in front of you.
Absolutely. I will share. It's a cue ball. It was on Shark Tank last week, and I will tell you the story of it at the end. But we are part of an innovative experience that I want to keep going with, and then I'll tell you more about the ball. Okay. Tell me your 135, please.
Okay. Well, part of it is, what is the definition of unique, and how do I know that it's unique?
Okay, good. Yeah, you know on cartoons how you get the speech bubble, and then you get the thought bubble, and then you get the thing at the bottom that tells you what's really going on. Right, this happens a lot, and it happens a lot every time you are interacting with your executives. They're telling you something, but they're thinking something else. Right? You're thinking, right, well, how do I know? I mean, well, what is unique? And who says I'm unique? And how do I even know that I should be doing, like, all these thought bubbles are going on.
Don't say that.
And no, it's okay. It's this noise, it's this buzzing that goes on in your head that it sucks your energy. And you can have pre-worry, parallel worry, and post-worry, right? And so you may be parallel worrying now, what on earth is Val going to do to me right now in front of all these people I don't know? And then afterwards, in the break, you might be going, oh, I should have said that. I can't believe I said this. I should have said that. Or this morning as you're driving in, you might have thought, what is this conference going to be like? Is this really a good investment of my time? Pre, parallel, and post worry. It's one of these energy suckers. As a thoughtfully ruthless executive, as a thoughtfully ruthless leader, you've got to set free. You've got to set free, and it is going to give you back hours and hours of your life and freedom to allow you to do what you need to do. So you don't have to share the whole 135. If there's part of it that you want to share with me, that would be amazing.
Okay. My unique value is that I partner with a deep commitment to success for my clients by blending my expertise with theirs.
Okay.
My distinct traits are a service mindset, strategic thinking, and a process focus. And interestingly, I went for both family and work kinds of things on the 5. My family, my grown kids, being in business for 25 years. I don't know if that's a good thing to talk about in this stage, but I have done it. A series of innovative ideas, including a recent digital training kit that was kind of a first of its kind in a company I work with.
Okay. What was the digital training kit?
It took information on products and helped sales folks engage with that, with the products to position them effectively in a new way.
What type of products?
It's a financial services company.
Okay.
So it's using a financial plan to help clients appreciate where their needs are and position products.
And why is that important to their clients?
Because it allows them to achieve the financial security that they're able to achieve through understanding what their needs are, where they are now, and where they want to be, and how to get there.
And so what's the impact to the individual who will use those products? So what happens?
Well, in an ideal world, if they follow a disciplined path over time, they will achieve their hopes and dreams for themselves and their family.
Okay, so they'll achieve financial stability and success. And the company?
It's Northwestern Mutual.
Okay, but what's the success of the company?
The company is able to create a long-term relationship with between the representatives that work there and the clients that they serve.
So what will happen to sales?
Increasing.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what you need to talk about,
Oh, yeah. The sales part.
right?
I guess I'm process-oriented, so I don't get to that until the story's over.
Yeah. And I have news for you.
Thank you.
You're not alone. Many experts like you, many leaders who are driving change spend so much time on the process, on the methodology, on the toolkit, on the workshop, on the training, on the communication, and none of that matters. What matters is the impact for the company, for the business, for the individuals you are touching. And you have to translate all of your results, all of your projects through the lens of profit, market share, costs, revenue, personal growth and impact for business leaders. And if you do that, that's why people hire you. And if they're hiring you and you're not using that language, imagine how many more people are going to hire you if you do use that language.
Thank you.
So thank you for playing along with me.
Thank you for
I appreciate it.
sharing all that.
Hopefully that'll help with your website. Anyone else have a question or a comment for me?
I can share one thing. This is amazing the ball. You feel a little bit stupid that you got the ball. Hi, Wilson. I want to share my first one, my value, that there is only one thing in the world which you can't and it's no sense to improve. Do anybody know what is it? It is thing which hasn't been done yet. So first you need to do it for one time and then start improving.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. So what you have just been through is an exercise in being brilliant at demonstrating your brilliance. And the amount of executives that I have had come to me and say, and call me up and say, Val, I can't believe that guy has just got that promotion. I can't believe they just got that CEO slot. I used to work with them back 3 years ago and they were not very good. Now, the reason why that is because you can be brilliant, but the world's best kept secret. Or you can be not very brilliant and be really good at managing up, managing out, managing your how people view you, and there's a disconnect there. But what the very best, most successful leaders do is they deliver results, so they're brilliant, but they are also brilliant at demonstrating their brilliance. And my challenge to you all is, how brilliant at demonstrating your brilliance are you? The 1, 3, 5, and there's actually a 10, which I'll tell you about in a second. The 1, 3, 5, 10 is a thoughtfully ruthless leadership voice. It's how you unpack who you are as a leader, because if you don't know who you are as a leader, how does your board, how does your executives, how do the people that you are trying to bring along with you on the changes and the initiatives that you're trying to drive? So unpacking who you are as a leader. For those of you who are driving change in organizations, the leader who is making the changes, the software implementation, the change in how you're interacting with your customers, the new product launches. Those leaders need to be thoughtfully ruthless leaders. Those leaders need to be brilliant at demonstrating their brilliance. So you've experienced some of it, 1, 3, 5. Number 10 is you need 10 sound bites. So a sound bite is a catchphrase. It's something that you're known for. It's something that when you leave and go from one business to another or one project to another, they'll say, hey, Mazen always says, forget the big picture, the detail matters. That's his catchphrase. I just made that up. But it's how you're remembered. Now, some people, when they find out what their sound bites are, do not like them. And I've been, in my corporate life, I went to this executive leaving party and someone had made a T-shirt with all of his catchphrases on, and some of them weren't pretty. But it's important to know what sound bites you're leaving, because it's like a footprint in the sand as you leave your organization. It's what's left. So pay attention to what your sound bites are. So this thoughtfully ruthless leadership voice is described in my book, Thoughtfully Ruthless, and everybody here is going to get a copy. But I'm curious, who loves audiobooks the best? Who loves ebooks the best? Who loves real books the best? Okay, great. So, because it's very important to meet people where they are and how they absorb and learn information, I'm giving you your book of choice. You just have to complete this and tell me ebook, audiobook, or real book, and I will send you a copy of your choice. And if you're lucky, there are some Val Wright bookmarks under some tables, and if you do have a bookmark under your chair or under your table, and you can take a look right now, you will leave with a real book and come and see me afterwards. It's actually on the floor. If you have one, wave. Okay, so cue ball. I saw this on Shark Tank last week in the season premiere, or maybe it was the week before. I'm incredibly impatient. One of my traits. And so I see it. I'm immediately on my phone trying to purchase it. It's already sold out. They're not going to get any till Christmas because 3 sharks went in. Cuban, Laurie, plus the guy behind Pop Chips, whose name I've forgotten, who was a guest shark. So, of course, I don't take no for an answer. So I'm contacting them and I'm saying, is there any way I can just borrow one? Because I'm going to these conferences and I'd love to share. So anyway, they were very kind and sent me one to my hotel yesterday so I could borrow it. And so cue ball, take a look at the Shark Tank episode. It's a wireless mic. You can drop it, you can throw it. It's actually designed for classrooms. So they designed it with teaching in mind. So, so that kids who don't like to speak up, they throw it around. It's fun. This is the first time I used it. I literally got it yesterday. Tried to use it yesterday and couldn't get the technology. My good friend on the mic here did an awesome job with plugs and wires. I don't know how he did it, but he made it happen today to make the technology work, which I'm very grateful for. And so... Does it deflate? It does not deflate. It's like a squishy foam ball. So ask me questions about this afterwards. But what I want to tell you about is this process I went through when I brought this out. No one knew what I had. And some of you got a bit annoyed with me that I didn't tell you it was a mic when I was throwing it. And some of you were confused, and some of you were saying, but you didn't tell us. You didn't tell us the instructions. What were you doing? Well, if you told us in the first place, then we'd have turned it around this way, not that way. What are you doing, you crazy British woman? I get told that a lot. It's fine.
With good teeth.
I'm not talking about teeth today. Anyway, there's too many other things to talk about. It happens a lot when something new happens in your workplace. People don't get the right instructions. People just come in and start chucking stuff around, expecting people to follow. How are you paying attention to, first of all, doing something a little disruptive to wake people up? Because far more people wanted to catch the ball than normally when I say who has questions or comments. So it's kind of different and innovative. And then what happens when you introduce something new and different? And how do you see how different people react, which is all perfectly normal, because it's a new rules of the game. And experiential learning is way more powerful than email and PowerPoint. So what are you doing as you're trying to increase sales, not a training course? As you are trying to drive business results with the projects that you are working on, what are you doing that's experiential, that wakes people up and helps people remember things? So back to being a thoughtfully ruthless leader, time, energy, and resources. I want you to think about for a moment your last 3 months of life. And if you were to visualize your calendar, imagine, just go through, think of the meetings, the things you've done, the outputs, what you've achieved in the last quarter. And if this is 0 to 30 days, this is answering emails, answering questions, responding to messages, and delivery and execution of your work, 0 to 30 days zone. This zone here is 3 to 6 months out. So you're planning, you're considering options, you're deciding what's going to happen in your business in 3-6 months' time, and focusing some time and energy there. Here, 1 to 2 years out. Over here, 2-3 years' time. You're thinking about where you want to be in 2020, and what do you need to be doing today to make that dream and vision a reality. By way of pointing at me, where have you, in the last quarter, typically spent most of your time and energy on your business, on your projects, and at work? Give me a pointer. That way or that way? And in an ideal world, where would you like to spend more time? Up here. Okay. So I've done this with thousands and thousands of executives and experts, and every time it's the same. So you fall into my highly statistically significant and complex research of my visual check of who's pointing at me where. But it's true. There is this really strong gravitational pull that drives and demands and calls us to what I call the 30-day danger zone. That's here. Do you feel that strong magnetic pull? What is it that pulls you this way? And you can just shout them out. Clients.
Deadlines.
Urgency, deadlines. Comfort. Goals. Check-in boxes. If you want to rapidly grow your business, if you want the clients that you're supporting to be rapidly innovating and growing, you have to figure out a way to spend more time over there. And you do that by being thoughtfully ruthless with your time. If anyone has any examples or questions they want me to answer as we go through, I'm happy to answer them. Or I'm going to give you some rapid tools that you can immediately apply. And the first is, if you would like to know a way to reduce meeting time by 75%, would you be interested? Okay. Half of all meetings are not needed. Of those meetings that are needed, half of them, you only need half of the executives around the table. There you have the time and capacity and energy of your company's meeting time reduced by 75%. I have bamboo in my back garden, and it's a 100-year-old house. And I don't know if anyone has ever seen really old bamboo, but the roots go absolutely everywhere. We put one of those over-the-ground swimming pools up last summer. Disaster. Ridiculous idea. Thought it'd be a good idea for our kids. Within 10 days, the roots grew through the swimming pool. They are that vicious. They are that pervasive. Meetings are the same. They're like bamboo roots that just keep growing. And you try and hack them down, what happens? Another one pops up. One of the things I always like to do with executives I'm working with is I say, show me your calendar. Show me your calendar. And when I look at their calendar, it looks like a really bad game of Tetris gone wrong. People are double booked, triple booked. There's no space. So one of the first things you can do, and there's a whole meaningful meetings chapter in my book, you can help people reduce their meeting time by 75% by how they run their meetings, who comes in, one of my catchphrases is meetings are not a spectator sport. But meetings are spectator sports. There are ego invites. Well, you're a vice president, so we better invite the other vice president, because otherwise that vice president isn't going to be very happy. So knowing the dynamic of who you're involving and where you are contributing and spending your time.
Can I ask you?
Here.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
I have worked in the past somewhere where most of my meetings were in person because my colleagues were there in the
Yes.
office with me. And then a few years ago, I really transitioned into a role where my colleagues are elsewhere.
Yes.
So it seems to me now that to connect with people and do my job, I've got to put time on the calendar to connect. So I'm wondering how, whereas before when it was in person, definitely I could have hacked away at the meetings. But now it seems like that I have to connect with people virtually. I don't know how to take the time away because otherwise it's all email, which can be a challenge.
Yes. So it's a great question, and you have to be really intentional with who you are meeting with and for what purpose. And being really deliberate that, reoccurring meetings are just the worst thing ever invented. And I used to work at Microsoft. Whoever invented that feature of reoccurring for the rest of your life, like Tuesday morning one-on-ones, they obviously got a big bonus for that great feature, but it's terrible. So don't do the reoccurring. Be really targeted and be really specific about the outcomes that you want and be really intentional. I talked about the thought bubble in cartoons about what people are thinking. Many times, and this is a key part of influence, many times people don't share their thought bubble. And they don't share the bottom line underneath, which is the intention. My intention here is for us to get to know each other so I can really understand the business impact of the project we're going on. How's the best way to do that? And they might say, well, just let's spend a 2-hour deep dive and go through the whole business, and then let's, meet sporadically as the need requires, as opposed to meandering through trying to figure out, am I building the relationship or not? Does that help?
Yeah, it does help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, I'm going to pass it to pass it. Okay, we're going to do a double shot. Who wants to catch this to pass it that way? Okay, arms up if you're going to catch it. I'm scared of knocking something over.
There we go. Catch that fire.
Okay. How do you respectfully decline your meetings that you know you don't need to be in?
It's a great question. There is a chapter in my book called The Power of No. And in it, there are 30 ways to say no. And it can be no, not right now. It can be no, not me. Or no, not ever. So you need to know which no you want to say. And so figure that out and then respectfully explain why you don't need to be present. Does that help?
Yeah.
Great. Other questions? One at the back.
So if you subscribe to the belief of servant leadership, right, and if you lead lots of people, your job is to support those people, coach those people, and we work in consulting, so we're in a people business, so our product is our people.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge I have with, I get what you're saying, and I respect that. The challenge I have is when you have 150 people that you're managing, the way that you spend time with them is spending time with them in meetings and in conversations, and whether you call it a meeting or I go have coffee with them, it's time I'm spending with people. That is just a function of my job. So that's what I want to give you thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do. And that is, think of, if you were to draw a circle that is all your available time and energy, you need to chunk off how you want to focus which parts of it. So you might decide that 20% of your time is going to be on business development, or 25% or 30% of your time is going to be on connections with your 150 people. And then another 30% is on execution. So you need to start with a map in mind and apply it to what you're doing. And this is the ruthless versus thoughtful and why the extremes are not correct, because you don't want to be so ruthless that no one ever sees you and no one ever talks to you, because you're right, the connection with your team is important. But it's how you do it in a scaled and deliberate and impactful way that drives that connection, but at the same time, you don't lose what's happening to grow your future business. Does that help? Great, thank you. So as you think about this continuum, I call this focus on the right spot. The picture is in my book that you will get. The other thing that I talk about is how you leapfrog and create your leapfrog business. So think about, where do you want your business to be in a time horizon you're happy with, 2 or 3 or 4 years? What products, what services, what markets do you want to be in? What life do you want to create in 3 years' time? That is your leapfrog business. For those of you working with leadership teams driving change, what you then have to do is you have to do some time travel. So you take the existing executive team, you take the existing board, and you time travel them to the future, and you ask these 2 very important questions. Do they have the capacity and the capability to run that business in the size and the scale it will be in 3 years' time? If not, you need to go hire that team now. So that is your leapfrog organization. And in order to create rapid, fast change that impacts bottom line business results, you have to create thoughtfully ruthless leaders, a thoughtfully ruthless executive team, and an exemplary board. And you do that by time traveling your existing team and then saying, you know what, you need to hire a new CFO. You know, I was working with a board chair, and they wanted to expand into Europe and to China. And so we did the time travel exercise, we did the leapfrog organization, and I said to him, does your executive team and board have the capability and capacity? And it sounds really obvious, but this happens all the time. They didn't have international experience on their board or their executive team. So their number one priority was getting experience of the executive team. And the company was growing from 250 million revenue to 1.5 million in 3 years. And every single person bar one on the executive team was in the biggest job of their life. And when you're in the biggest job of their life, your learning is rapid, it's very exciting, but it's hard work. You need people who have been there, done that, got the knocks and bruises, and that's how you bring the business that you're in into the future faster. So being thoughtfully ruthless with your resources and your time is important. But the third factor is the one that's the least talked about. What happens when you're just about to board a plane and there's maybe 30 minutes to go? What does everyone run around the gate looking for? They're like that. Plugs. For what? Charging your device. Amazon's revenue for standalone battery packs is astronomical right now. They have 1 million products available for USB charging devices. We're obsessed. I've got 3 in my bag right now, just to make sure. If you saw the flashing handbag, that is a charger for your phone, in addition to the LED fabulous display. We're obsessed with charging our devices. If only we were so obsessed with keeping our own energy levels up. If I was to ask you right now, and I'm not going to ask you to share, if I was to ask you, where's your battery level right now? When you think about your own energy level at 10:10 on a Thursday morning, facing a day of exciting conference, is your energy level 100% fully green, fully recharged, ready to go, can't wait to meet all these people you never met before and you're going to learn loads of new things? Maybe are you thinking about what's coming through on your email and all the emails you've missed and all the work that's backlogged, and you may be at 50%. Or maybe you've had a really rough week and you've won some new business and you've got lots going on and you're thinking, you know, maybe I'm just going to nip out in a minute and just try and get a little bit more work done, go back to this 30-day danger zone, not imagine the future. Or maybe you're in your 10% low battery mode. And what does your phone do when you're in low battery mode? Something shut down. It stops location services, it stops certain apps. And it tries to preserve that last tiny little bit of energy so that you can keep texting or tweeting for as long as possible till it shuts down. What do we do when our energy level's low? Do we take it easy, sit back, preserve our energy, what do?
Keep going.
Keep going. Caffeine, sugar, chocolate. Try and run really, really fast to the finish line. Pay attention to your energy level. It's not realistic to say you're going to be 100% all the time, but you need to keep topping it up. And you top it up by who you surround yourself with. By regularly having the sleep, nutrition, and exercise that you need as fuel for everything you are delivering. I heard someone speaking earlier saying, what I do is hard. You know, these were my words, it's like she's a sponge for all these people going through these changes. And they're having a hard time and you're trying to help them improve and grow. That's weighty stuff. So you need your own energy level up because the people around you, their energy level is going to be over here fluctuating depending on what degree of change that they are dealing with. For those of you who have teenagers in your life, we need to embrace our inner teenager more. As a teenager, I remember I did what I wanted, when I wanted, with who I wanted. I listened to the music I wanted to. If I didn't like someone, I just didn't spend time with them anymore. As we grow up, we kind of lose that determination and selfishness. Because we have a career and we want to please, and so we've got bosses and peers and people we're trying to keep in touch with, and we've got friends from the past and new friends and colleagues and 150 people to manage in our business. And then we've got family commitments of people who are older, younger, different to us, blended families, and we've got all of these commitments, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger in this sponge. I call this the midlife sponge. People don't need to worry about a midlife crisis. You know, forget the Harley Davidson or whatever's going to happen to you going off around the world and doing something crazy. You've got to worry about your midlife sponge because you are taking on too many commitments. You are taking on too many responsibilities. You take on things, you don't shed them. You don't say no enough. And the you is the collective you. Solo entrepreneurs, business leaders, executives. I hear this all the time. And those who are most successful know how to say no, know how to carve away things. You know, I work with a number of change experts, and there was one particular person I was working with, and when I first met him, he said, well, I've got this professional services arm because I help place experts, so I've kind of got this recruitment firm. Oh, and then I'm doing these big projects, you know, these big six-figure projects with big companies, and then I do this, and then I also volunteer, and then I'm responsible in my church, and then I do that, and I was exhausted just listening to the list. And so what we worked on was how we decided what is his future business? Where does he want to be spending his time? Who are his perfect clients? Who are his perfect businesses he wants to work with? What does he want to be known for? And then started to cull away the things that didn't matter. And so I challenge you to think about, what does your business look like in the future? You are here for the day. The speaker lineup is awesome. Take some time to be inspired by what you're learning. Shift your thinking to how your business looks in 3 years' time, and how can you take some of the lessons that you've learned and shift how you might be managing your own energy. There might be people in this room that you vaguely know. Your inner circle of advisors who will help you keep up your energy when you're dealing with multiple projects, clients, or change initiatives happening in the various companies that you're working with. So focusing on your energy will really help you as you think about how you can rapidly grow your business and create leaders who are thoughtfully ruthless. Questions or comments?
One comment, I'm Tom Grönström, coming from Finland, new here in Chicago. It is not keeping your energy leveling is doing less, but doing things which inspire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a question or a comment?
Just a comment.
Yes. I agree. That was close. How you inspire is critical. You know, I spent last week with a number of CMOs and digital executives in San Francisco and San Jose. And I got kind of overwhelmed because I saw AI, VR, AR, data insights, all of these really clever, cool ways that these companies were connecting with customers. We got to see, there was a retail focus, and we got to see all the cool new ways. Retail is now evolving, and subscription service, and stylists, and Nordstrom's now launched a store that there's not even any stock because it's just all alterations and fun. And so they're doing so many new innovative things to kind of disrupt retail, and there was all these ways that people know that you've walked into a store, and so they know that you were there last week, and you create, and so there's all these really clever ways, and you get these apps and these pop-ups, and they know who you are, and it's fantastic. And then it occurred to me, the way that we communicate to our employees has not changed since 1992, and it's tedious, and it's lengthy, and our primary source of communication is email. And so I challenged these CMOs to say, tap into some of this cool technology and inspire your employees the same way you're inspiring your customers. And so think about how can you be inspiring and connecting with the people in your organization that are different from an all hands, that are different from an email. One of the articles I wrote for Inc. magazine was 16 ways to innovatively communicate and connect with your employees. If you want that article, write 16 ways on the little sheet of paper, and I will make sure I send that to you as an electronic copy, because many leaders find that really helpful. If you don't know who Banksy is a British street artist who communicates in the most innovative ways. When he does an art installation, he puts the phone number on the bottom of the art installation, so when you get to the art installation, you call a number, and his audio is telling the story of the art and the story behind the art. Because research showed in a British museum, 90 seconds is how long someone looks at a piece of art before they move to the next piece of art. 90 seconds. So how much attention do you think you have on email? How much attention do you think you have in an all hands? So you need to find different ways of connecting and communicating with your employees. So I'm going to be around all day. So if you have questions for me, if you want to talk to me privately, I'm happy to do that. The last thing that I want to mention to you is that in England, the subway train station has these really big letters on the edge of the platform. Mind the gap. It's so obvious, but everyone in England is a little bit concerned about health and safety. And so in addition to the big letters, over the tannoy system will come, the train is arriving, please mind the gap. And then it'll say again, please mind the gap as you exit the train. It's like the thing that is even more obvious, but yet often ignored, is the gap that happens when you think about a new approach. When you think about, it could be a good idea to do less meetings. It could be a good idea for me to focus on my energy. It could be a good idea to think about my leapfrog organization. But there is this huge chasm that exists between that idea and then actually putting it in action. It's called your thought to action ratio. How much do you think about something before doing? I invite you all to speed it up. Stop thinking and do. Do one thing before you leave today, even if it's a commitment to yourself to try something new. Pick one change that you will make to yourself as an executive, as a leader, as an expert, and try it out today. Mind the gap. Thank you for listening.